which is just good. Anybody else? All right, then I'll be respectful of that. Sandy, let's go to you. Any reports from you, Sandy Schneider? And then David, first of all, David Purse, how about you? How are you looking today?
I have to get off by 11:30 Central Time.
Okay, good. All right, fine. Then we can get you all in. This is good. I'll hit you and do it we'll do an infectious disease thing. How's that? We'll get you and John on sometime here soon. Hey, let's go ahead and do some committee reports, so to speak, or I'm sorry, society reports. American College Emergency Physician, Sandra, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I bring you greetings from Ron Stewart.
Yeah.
He is alive and well in the North Country of Nova Scotia.
Have you returned?
Yeah, let me suggest if you go there, you close your eyes while he's driving. Just leave it at that.
He's only 80, you know.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Anyhow, oh my God, it was, but he is amazing. And I will have you know that his Eagle Award is displayed. It's one of the very few things that's in his place. It's a little Spartan there, shall we say.
Yeah.
Really the only information I have is don't forget ACEP 22 is coming up at the end of this month. Please register and attend if you can. It's going to be amazing. And I'm looking forward to seeing all my friends again in 3 dimensions. That's really it for me, Ron. I think the rest of the stuff, again, I'm on vacation mode. I just got back last night, so.
Okay, good. I may give you a call later just to say hi and see how it all went. So thank you so much. Great to see you. All right, then let's see. I'm trying to see if there's any other committee. And first of all, Megan Gussick, thanks for being here. Okay, I'm not sure if we've had John before at all or just a couple of times. That's right. So how's things in Madison?
Things are good. I was gone for a while because I had a baby. So
good for you.
yeah,
Well, hey, I love your hair. It's fantastic. I like it. So it's good. Cool. Very cool. So good.
Everybody see Joelle had a baby too?
Yeah. It's been a reproductive month, not just a productive month. It's been good. That's great.
Congratulations, Megan.
Yeah. Hey, Megan, so how old is your boy or girl? I can't remember. I don't know what it was. I can't remember.
It's a boy. He's 5
yeah.
months old now this week.
Oh,
So,
good.
but I took some well-needed time off to enjoy that. So
is there anything interesting of interest happening in Madison that we should be aware of or know about, and what are the things you're facing?
nothing super interesting. We're continuing to expand kind of our community paramedicine, which has kind of taken over police responses to all mental health calls. We call it our CARES team. So that's been a huge success within the city, so much so that we're expanding hours and hiring more people to kind of fulfill that. So that's been super fun and successful. So, but otherwise we're trudging along like everyone else. Nothing super exciting or new.
Well, I got to get back up there again. I hear you're getting a new chairman, right? Is that right?
We do, yeah. He's
Yeah.
EMS based too. So Dr. Manish Shah is our new chair as of last week. So
Yeah.
it feels good to have leadership with a pre-hospital background, which I know not everybody has and can sometimes make our jobs a struggle. So we're super excited about that.
Hey, well, get me back up there to do some more, some of the talks that were, I was just saying that it's going to be kind of a fun stuff. I got a lot of really good stuff we're going to report on. In fact, I'm reporting on it at ACEP at one of their plenary sessions. So anyways, I just had a great time with you guys and like doing ride-alongs with you as well. Good crew up there.
All right.
But,
We'll
yeah.
make it happen.
All right, thanks a lot. Hey, okay, then let's move on to David Purse, who is our medical director from our Eagle from Houston, as well as being the public health director there as well. So David, what do you have to report on either end?
Good morning, everyone. Thanks, Paul. So really here in Houston, our monkeypox is continuing to creep up. I wouldn't say it's leveled off yet, but its rate of increase has slowed down a little bit. So we'll see. From coronavirus, our wastewater shot up. The percentage shot up again quite a bit, about a 16% increase. But we don't think that it actually reflects that there's more viral activity. We think that we had some really heavy rains across the south of Texas last week, and I'm learning more and more about how they measure this stuff. And you would think that there would be a dilutional effect, although the sanitary sewer system and the rainwater don't mix, but it changes the flow rates, and anyways the math gets screwed up, and makes it look like there's more virus in the community than there is. So we think this is a mathematical anomaly, but otherwise everything's dropping off, but it's.
Do you think it's like
weird.
just being washed over from San Antonio or Williamson County? What do you think?
Well, we know there's plenty of disease in those communities. Yeah.
We don't have COVID up here. Just ask our politicians. It doesn't exist.
That's
Good
true,
point.
Jeff.
Point.
Good to see. Hey, Jeff, you'll be around next week. I may want you to announce something. That's all. I just want to, we'll do that, but we'll leave it at that. So for today, right? So that's great. Great to talk to you today, by the way. So it was good. Thank you so much. All right. So let's, David, anything else then on the, how about an EMS and what's going on with that?
Not much. One thing that we did start, we began enrolling patients. We're doing a called a PD dose trial.
Mhm.
We're one of several sites across the U.S. It's the IRBs from Utah, but Baylor Texas Children's is the lead site. Anyways, it's just another way of looking at how to measure, calculate the dose of midazolam based on age as opposed to length or weight. And we just started enrolling this past week. So anyways, that's, and then we're going to be doing a Kcentra trial for trauma patients, but that we haven't started yet.
Yeah, it's good. Hey, listen, I wish Jeff Goodlow was on. You guys gave one of the best sessions at the Eagles this year, and you just really were a good slam dunk on that as usual, because you've been doing this work for 30 years and whatever. And but I just talked to Jeff, and he's doing fantastic. He's doing a little trial of the tiered system up there in Edmonds, and it's just working out really well. And I'm actually going to go visit him in about a month or so just to see how things are going. I'll give you a report on that. All right, so let's then move over. So let's just go ahead and go to John Jew then, if that's okay with everybody. And John, anything you can report on first? Let's start with the infectious disease end, since you are our infectious disease guru.
Yeah, our monkeypox is allegedly stable, so I'll leave that up to David. There's a lot of confusion about the, myself included, about the variants and the new vaccine that's coming out. About 2 or 3 points I'd like to highlight. Number one, the European version is different than the American version. FDA approved a BA, a combined bivalent original Wuhan plus Omicron BA4, BA5 variant in their both Moderna as well as Pfizer. The Europeans approved.
Oh, is that kind of a trivalent? Is that
no?
Technically, how do they do that? I mean, sounds like more like a trivalent then, because of it, right?
It's really, I think the basis was BA5. Honestly, I'll have to check with that.
Right, and they're looking at the spike proteins, and correct? Is that what?
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, the European version is BA1. So the real question is why BA1 versus BA4 or 5? So the second statement is the following, that we don't really know the sweet spot. FDA is approving it for, I guess, the Moderna versus Pfizer. Pfizer greater than 12 and Moderna greater than 18 years of age. I don't know what David and other people think, but right now I think people at risk, I think older people, immunocompromised people should receive the variant, the booster shot. Number two, I think people who've had prior infections, there's need to be more data there. The data that's that the FDA as well as the European CDC looked at are primarily lab data, not human data here as well. What the real benefit would be is the following, that it may protect you against variants of the variant. I'm playing a lot of words.
Yeah.
I do expect another variant in the fall, and I expect a significant, basically peak in that area as well. The second issue, if you're worried about long COVID, I would suggest that this would be probably helpful here as well. There's no question that if you got infected with a BA1 or even BA4, BA5, you are fairly well protected against the, at least the current Omicron variant here as well. So that's really where we're really at right now. And so I think within the US, the vaccine should be available this week as well. Another issue here is that for the uncommon people that are basically not vaccinated, the original vaccine is still recommended. It's not the booster vaccine. So there's a difference between the booster vaccine and the original immunization series. Does that make sense here as well? And that's basically it. There's a lot of talk and a lot of confusion, but I sent the article yesterday. The protection is going from around 40 to 50%. And this is combined preclinical data to about 80 to 90% with the booster. Does that make sense as well?
Yeah,
So you have a much greater chance of getting less of a chance of getting symptomatic infection with the booster.
yeah,
So it may mean staffing issues. Does that make sense as well?
yeah.
So most of us who are getting infected, including a lot of my faculty and residents, the real impact is really time off, and it really throws a wrench in our scheduling here. Back to you, Paul.
Yeah, Jeff, did he answer your question there? In the chat? You put in the chat the question.
A bit. You were talking about the efficacy of the boosted booster. I'm curious, you had mentioned that BA.4/5 infection seems to protect. I'd certainly heard that about serious illness. Does it seem to be protecting much against infection for exactly the staffing reasons you're just discussing?
The answer is yes. There's no question about having a native exposure, as well as even BA.1, BA.2, but BA.4, BA.5 gives you much better protection than even BA.1 as well. So that's probably why FDA requested that
John,
version as well.
John, what's the R naught of the BA.5, let's say BA.4? It's pretty
The
high.
R naught, I'm just taking it off the top of my head, it's very high.
Yeah,
Around 18 or 19 as well.
yeah, unbelievable. So it's like,
Yeah, it's very high.
it's like measles or worse, right?
You walk in a freaking room, like in an exam room, especially with the peds and parents, they're gonna be coughing and
Yeah,
sneezing, and you're basically exposed here as well.
I think that if you haven't had it, you got it, and you may
Yeah.
not have known it. That's the thing. Yeah, because there are people didn't feel well one day and didn't check themselves out. Plus, I don't think all the tests are that reliable. I think they're sensitive enough sometimes to pick at the right time and places, or even just how they go ahead and do this. They say. I think
I
it's
would
really-
agree with you, Paul. A lot of us are probably asymptomatic infections as well.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. So I'm pretty sure I got it. I bet at one point. But I think we do need to be still not. I think we still need to be worried about it a little bit from the point of view of, the long COVID, like you said, and we'll talk more about that later on. So, John, in conclusion, I'm hearing that you're saying there's going to be a variety of various variants of varying virulence, is what we may have, right?
Yeah, I think the real crystal ball, which I don't have an
I'm
answer
trying to
for.
make a bad joke. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
That's good. Good you had your coffee, Paul. I
Yeah.
think the real issue, honestly, it's the crystal ball. I think there is going to be a spike, and the spike is going to be a variant of the variant here as well. And
Yes.
to be best protected against the variant of the variant would be an immunization with
Right.
the booster shot as well.
So any event, let me switch over to Mick, because Mick, this becomes interesting because, well, for a lot of reasons, over there you have one of the cool things is that you're predicting a ninth wave over there as well in Ireland, or I should say here, since I'm in Dublin. So that's number one. But the cool part I thought was that tell the number of people who are vaccinated, what percentage of the population. That is, there's visitors here too, but the residential population of Ireland, 5.1 million people. How many people over the age of 5 are vaccinated and boosted?
It's not about 95%, but I think I'd sent you those details. You didn't prime me. You were going to come back to me for that now, so I don't have the exact number. But the
Yeah,
link I sent you to the GeoHive, you can scroll that over and backwards, and it'll give you what age, what group, what
Yes.
date, and you can check a particular date and time what the percentage rate of the population vaccinated was. It all feeds into a central hub. So every vaccination center here is linked. Every single thing is put back up. So it's very easy to work out the numbers and percentages.
yeah. But bottom line, you're way above 95%, right? I mean, yeah. I mean, you're way above what the rest of the planet is doing. I mean, it's unbelievable what you got out there. It's really-
To misquote Kevin Costner,
Yes.
if you pay it, they will update the data.
Okay, got it. Yeah, I'll mention that to him. So, hey, so that's fantastic information. And then when do you think it's going to take place with your ninth wave, as John's predicting? Okay, when do you think that'll happen?
We're not quite sure. Just the numbers are kind of the daily report they sent you out shows the curves and the reported positive values. It's a little bit skewed now because the general public can't access PCRs anymore. So previously there was a walk-in service. If you felt unwell, you could get it. Whereas the numbers being tested are quite low, but still overall numbers being low, the
Yes.
numbers turning up positive are much higher on a percentage basis because it's people who are being specifically referred in as contacts of positive individuals from hospitals.
Yeah, yeah, okay. So anyways, it's just, we'll just say it just, again, it's the whole thing, but I think we're learning to live with it a little bit more like influenza, you know, that kind of thing. Overall, and that's what we've been saying for the last few weeks, etc. All right, it's good. And then, are you down in Wexford today, or where are you?
For 4 more hours and I'll be driving up.
Okay, got it. All right,
You
good.
need food later on.
Well, maybe so. We'll see. I got to see. I sort of have to go visit with Scott first, so I got to see what he's going to do, and I haven't heard back from him yet. So okay, because I may be having our security visit tomorrow. So all right. All right, so let's see now. Let's see who else was that had to get out. Was it
Clayton.
Clayton? That's right. Yeah. Clayton. Anything to report from out in LA?
Well, we are in the midst of a really heavy and long heat wave. Today is supposed to be the worst of it all. It's 8:50 in the morning and it's already 85 degrees and it's going to climb. It's going to be probably 110.
Yeah.
Depending on where you are. Yeah. We've been pretty blessed. We haven't been hit too hard with fires. We had a good sized one last week that is mostly contained now, and knock on wood, we've been pretty lucky. Monkeypox wise, the data looks like we may be past our peak, but I was looking at the data last week and realized that LA County is like the monkeypox capital of the world. California surpassed New York as the biggest state, and LA County has half the cases in California, but it does look like we're getting past. And then the only other thing of note was this last weekend, The Weeknd was performing at SoFi, and apparently 3 songs in decided that his voice was shot and just cut the show off. And thankfully, I think people had already had enough alcohol that they didn't really, they had enough alcohol that they were calm, but not so much that they rioted.
Okay.
But that was
who is this?
that-
Who is it?
this is The Weeknd.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, abruptly he cut off his show in the middle of the show, and a whole bunch of people who I think had figured that they would gradually sober up to get to their cars over the last hour of the show were now thrust out and passing out all around the stadium.
Ah, fantastic. Okay, that's everything. Well, I'm echoing for some reason, maybe on yours, but anything else to report? And Jillian, I'm going to bring you in a second, okay? So, just be prepared, because I just sort of pick at people just randomly. Just got to always be prepared.
Clayton,
Yeah,
Clayton, are you close to Mount Shasta?
no.
No, Mount Shasta is on the far northern part of the state, and
Okay.
there are a bunch of fires burning up there right now that are causing some havoc.
Yeah,
Usually
that's-
this time of year, the fire season shifts down to Southern Cal, but so
Yeah.
far the north is still getting hit harder.
Our partners, our group has a little critical access hospital there, and they were severely impacted by the fire and then became a shelter in place. They couldn't even evacuate and had all the nursing homes evacuating into them. So a lot of difficulties going on there, and sorry that you're getting hit so hard. Next time you ought to come down to Florida where it's a whole lot cooler.
We're
And
having
more humid too.
We're having a lot of echoing. I don't know why it is, but actually, ironically, John Jew is actually closer to Mount Shasta than Clayton is, which is interesting. John, good point. Anything to bring up about that in Portland?
Yeah, we're having Southern Oregon is basically having problems with the rim fire, and it's closely related to the Mount Shasta ecosystem here as well. So our Southern Oregon colleagues are having bad weather with a lot of smoke. It's blowing up to the east as well. We also have another fire in Eastern Oregon that basically closed I-84. So right now, I think Oregon is probably in its peak fire season, and we're probably having a significant problem like California is right now.
Okay, got it. All right, let me flip over to Jillian. We have our president of American College of Emergency Physicians joining us today, and it'd be great to get a report from her, see what you have to say. Anything you can pipe in about, Jillian? First of all,
Sure. Good morning.
great to see you. Yeah, it's
Great
really
to see you too. And sorry, I've been traveling around the country most days. I apologize. I've missed several weeks in a row, but good to be back and hear what's going on. Some sad news to report for those of you who knew Dr. Dave Barry. He was an emergency physician and toxicologist and a sort of beloved member of our military chapter. He passed away unexpectedly on Friday for those who knew him. As news from ASAP, a couple things. I don't know if you guys have talked about monkeypox recently. We had the first death, although I think it was more likely due to a complication of AIDS and HIV than to monkeypox itself. There have been a couple reported cases in healthcare workers and children, but most likely spread from very close contact of contaminated linens and sheets. There had been some push initially for ASAP to push for vaccination for healthcare workers, but the CDC told us that's likely not going to happen due to one, the incredibly low risk if you're not in direct contact, and two, just a limited number of vaccines at this time. So that's it on that front. On the kind of resolution business side, we are gearing up for our meeting in San Francisco in a few weeks. The resolutions for this year are now live on the council website with all kinds of topics and interesting discussion on sort of practice of medicine, on reproductive health. ASAP has been trying to get a handle on how the overturning of Roe v. Wade is going to impact emergency departments. We did put out an amicus brief, both in the state of Idaho and in Texas. Again, not trying to get into the politics of this, but really helping to give a voice for protecting the welfare of the mother. And in states like Idaho, there was no carve out for any kind of ectopic or death to mom or serious condition that we felt that emergency physicians would need to intervene before she got to the point where she was exsanguinating or potentially getting more unstable. So we are kind of putting together a task force to come up with protections in states where EMTALA would be in direct conflict with the new state law, to give some medical legal protection to physicians and to help understand, will your malpractice insurance cover you? What are some of the criminalization laws, and how does this impact you, and how will this impact your care if a patient comes into the emergency department with complications from reproductive health? So a lot going on there, but I'll just make myself available for questions if anyone has specific topics or things that they would like to ask about.
Yeah, okay. Anybody have any questions then for you? Otherwise, it's just great to have you on, particularly, and then I don't know if many of you know, or probably most of you do, but just in case that Jillian's also had a military background, was really represented that aspect of things in the emergency medicine community. So we're just really great to have her on board as well with this, with those perspectives. So thank you for being here today.
Yep.
All right, so let me move on. Anybody else have time limitations here before I move on to some of the other things like Steiner? Are you getting ready to be able to do the blood presentation?
Yeah, I just need like 5 more minutes. Having a problem getting onto the Survey Monkey. Oh, just 5 more minutes.
All right, let me talk to a few people we haven't talked to for a little bit. Let's go over to Cincinnati. Anything to report out of there, Dustin? Because it seemed like there was something that was going on last week. I can't remember what it was.
I don't remember what that was either,
Yeah.
which is frightening. No, we are fairly status quo here. We've dealt with a couple of monkeypox cases on our own campus, which was interesting. I got to use the phrase with our public health people, I hope monkeypox takes the same holiday schedule that you do, which went well. I felt better after saying it, but we were able to deal with that. That's pretty much the most exciting thing that we've had recently.
Oh, yeah. I think that probably what we were talking about was this issue about, that's what it was, when we were bringing up the issue about the new approach that Steiner talked about in terms of looking at the narcotics at the scene. That's all. I think that was probably what the comment was about. And I'm sorry, my brain's, kind of fried from traveling the last 2 days. So that's it. All right. Well, thanks a lot. Anything else then to know, we should know about from your end then?
Nothing else from Cincinnati, sir.
All right, great. Carolina, what's happening out in your neck of the woods in Fort Myers and, Cape Coral?
y'all. One of the things that I actually wanted to ask
Your
y'all
voice,
about-
if we can get your voice to come up a little bit, that'd be helpful. Okay, thanks.
Is that any better?
A little better, yes.
Okay. So one of the things that I wanted to ask you guys about was regarding kind of like essentially like self-defense for EMS. And I will huge thanks to Meg and to Clayton for already weighing in on this one. We currently use a program that defensive tactics for EMS and escaping violent encounters. We've come across some medical legal inconsistencies in the course, and we're really just looking to see if anyone uses anything any different. Just trying to protect our folks in that.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of people on the call here today who've done a lot of work in that area, et cetera, and including our, well, you know, a good example would be Rob Dunn, for example, in Detroit. You did a lot of that work, and also our folks over in Raleigh, if I remember. There's probably a bunch of others that have done work in that area. Maybe they can help you out on that. Anybody else want to throw in something on that?
Yeah, so we use a combination of things. We used a local version of the verbal judo program that our police department uses. We do use DT for EMS. You know, some of the medical legal issues you mentioned are very different state to state. So we customize content for our state, and all our people went through like the train the trainer. And then we have the additional teaching from them. Plus we use a couple of our medics as part of like a customized part of our EMS safety course, who had firsthand experience with some very serious violence. Many of you are familiar. We've done some presentations together. So we kind of hybridized a bunch of different things and try to continually evaluate it based on our providers' experience. And I don't know that there's anything that's just perfect right out of the box, but I think that the content in a lot of these, including the DT for EMS, has some good content.
I would agree with you. We're actually looking at doing kind of a hybrid thing ourselves.
Yeah. And if you want, we can maybe have Jim send out an email to everybody that if anybody has any programs going that can help you with, we can just alert him to give you call you your number or email you. Is that okay? Okay, good. Jim, are you
Sounds
okay?
great, thanks.
Jim, Augustine, are you okay with that?
Good with that.
Okay, thank you. I didn't want to put it on you if it was extra work.
Fine. Fine,
Okay,
I'll take
good.
care of it.
I want to talk a little about the violence. David Purse, anything else come up about that call where the firefighters got shot at last week? Anything new from what you reported last week?
No, it's a police matter now. So, none of the first responders were injured. Just to, scared the heck out of everybody. That guy, he intentionally, shot the people coming out of the building, and then he intentionally backed off across the street and got into a shadow to position himself to shoot the first responders. But
yes,
as we know, that did happen. But it's got everybody on their toes, that's for sure.
Yeah. Let's see. Then let's go up to New York, and Glenn, your violence is continuing there. And I'm going to Mick, I may bring you on to do a compare and contrast, right? But go ahead, Glenn. What's happening in New York City?
Violence continues, unfortunately.
Yeah.
The other day, 17-year-old was shot by a 15-year-old in the car. They thought it was an accident, turned out to be intentional. So a lot of teenagers getting shot and some getting killed, unfortunately, in addition to everything else that's going on. Everything else, though, the monkeypox, the COVID, everything seems to have leveled out. We're just getting ready for UNGA coming the week of the 20th. And right now, the U.S. Tennis Open. So, we have extra units out there monitoring.
Will you tell them what UNGA is?
Oh, the United Nations General Assembly.
Yeah, you got it. It's always working. You just wrote a chapter, I think, about that, if I remember correctly, right? So,
yeah, with Asa and Crawford, and they did a lot of stuff. So
that's great. So thank you so much, Kevin. You had a question. Go ahead, Kevin Mackey.
Thanks, Paul. Yeah, no, I was just gonna pipe in about the violence. We had a firefighter, I'm just sitting on a EMS committee call right now. We had a firefighter that was assaulted and hospitalized the end of last week by a patient. So that's kind of, it's distressing to hear that. So that's all I was just gonna pipe in about.
Okay. Anybody else have any other comments about that before we move on? Okay, if not, then let's go on to some other topic. Let's move down. Actually, let's move down our I-95 down to Crawford. What's happening in Philadelphia? Anything we should know about there?
Hi, everyone. We just got through our annual Labor Day 2-day Live Nation Made in America concert, which is always a high point for everyone's existence.
Okay.
And regarding violence, we had at least 30 shootings and 10 homicides over the holiday weekend. They're probably
Yeah.
still counting.
Okay.
That's kind of all we got.
Hey, so Mick, are you still there? Mick Malloy, by any chance?
Yep.
Can you tell them how many shootings you guys had in the country of Ireland over the weekend?
The whole country this weekend would have been, we go through, none, actually. And
That's
in
what I
last month, it would be none, and since January, it's been 2.
Yeah, that's right. So, and what were was it a hunting accident, by the way, or what was?
No, they were assassinations. So
They were.
yeah,
Oh,
criminal
tell us-
gangs.
yeah,
But
tell-
it's close up stuff. It's not across the street randomly. It's like very close in
yeah.
assassinations.
And
But
when
we
you
did,
say assassination, were they domestic or are they political?
I think commercial would be.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting commercial violence. Okay, that's good. We'll have to talk about that sometime. I want to learn more. But it is fascinating that they when you make the comparison. Now, granted, one of the things that we actually learned about Ireland from Mick was that well, 2 things. One is the population overall is 5 million, and half of those people live in the Dublin, metro area, and about half of those people are in Dublin itself. But the whole country itself actually is smaller, 32,000 plus square miles, and then say the state of Maine, which is 35,000 square miles, which was something new to me to learn all that. But they have amazing challenges as well, and that was one of the interesting things that he and I have gotten together about in terms of some of the healthcare systems, which he brought up a couple of weeks to us before. Mick, what's happening with the hacking issue, the Russian hackers in terms of your medical records? Is that under control now and that people pay that off, or how did that get resolved?
So officially nobody paid, but I mean, our belief is there was a payment issued with an NDA not to promote this out there.
Got it.
And there's been quite a lot of time and effort, excuse me, put into security now, which has really slowed down our procedures. So every click goes through a couple of different processes. So for me to access the, we have a national radiology system. So if I'm in it, I can see any other hospital's imagings, but now it's gone painfully slow because of all of the extra layers of security they've had to put into it.
So that could be important. For example, if you were going to send somebody up to Beaumont to have an embolectomy or something and show them the images, et cetera, and it takes a little bit more time to do that, or
well,
an example.
They have a push or a pull effect, so they will get the images quickly. But if I need to see theirs, so say their patients are coming to me and I'm in the remote area, it's much more slow in the remote side.
And the reason why I'm bringing this up is that it may happen to us very soon. It has happened in the United States, actually, in various places. I think a couple places in Washington, D.C. were hit. You had it out in L.A., right, Clayton? Is that right? Didn't you have some hacking of medical systems out there? Are you still there? Maybe he's left us. I don't know if he did. Clayton?
Talking about the violence, I don't know, you've only arrived, so you probably haven't seen the news or anything yet, but there was...
Yeah, what's up? I have not. Yes, go ahead. What's happening?
So again, it's nearly all domestics, the stuff that happens, but there was a young man who had a little bit of a meltdown at the weekend, 24-year-old, killed his twin brother and sister, threw them out a first floor window to stop the police and fire coming in while he was actively stabbing his 14-year-old brother who jumped out another window, and also killed his 18-year-old sister. Now, in most countries, with an armed police force, he would have been shot, but we don't have an armed police force. So they went in with beanbags and subdued him. So he's in courts at the moment for 3 murders and 1 attempted murder. And that just happened over the weekend.
So that you've had a 30% increase in murders, right?
Yeah, it's been, yeah, that one incident has been very significant.
Yeah, I can imagine. It is interesting. All right, well, listen, okay, Stein, you ready to go with the blood survey?
Hold on.
Yes. Looks like Lauren, I'm so glad I got a hold of you, Lauren. Lauren, from the Dallas Morning News who's doing the story, the nationwide story. And Lauren, we're able to get a hold of Dr. Levy and from Alaska. And then also, who did I plug you in with in, if I remember correctly, who do I plug into with in Montana? Lauren, can you hear me okay? You're on mute, that's why. Well, maybe she can't hear me. And
no, I just need to get a time to talk to both of them, but yeah.
Okay, good. All right, so make sure you're plugged in, you're getting what you need from me and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to give you, this is sort of going to be almost crude results right now. We're going to drill down on it more, and we're going to ask more questions, but we wanted to get the big picture, so to speak. And so, and you actually got to directly see the survey and know how it was, what we were going to put out there. So let's, I liked it. One of the questions you asked me, we picked up on it. We got it there. I don't know if we had that, meaning did they start it? And I don't know if we have all that tabulated yet, but we want to just sort of give you the broad brushstroke right now results. We had the results within 24 to 36 hours, I think, from 50 cities in the United States, largest cities in the United States. So that's, once again, great job, guys. It really is impressive work. So Stein, go ahead. Why don't you tell us what we found out so far? And this is survey all of you got about who's using blood or blood products, etc. Okay, so.
Right. Okay.
Share.
Yeah. Hold on one second. All right. I am up with you. Let me share my screen here. And see, can you see the spreadsheet there?
Yes, yep, it's coming up.
Okay, all right. So I'm just going to scroll through this a little bit. We have 48 responses, and Paul, I pulled up the spreadsheet here that does have responses, but you can I'll just scroll down here, and you can kind of see where the systems are that are using. And we have the agencies listed here that people have reported what agencies and what time frames they started this. And so most of the people put in what time frames. We have in Victoria, January 2011. In Seattle, it was August 2019. Do you want me to go through each one of these, or?
No, I was hoping we were going to get the summary data that you had sent me. That goes through each question one by one, etc. I don't, because I think we could take all this data later on about when they started it, that kind of thing for everybody, because I think that's just mostly a question for Laura, and we can get that done. But I wanted to get the big picture. Have you had that, or should I pull it up from an email from you?
Yeah, go ahead and pull that one up if you don't mind.
Yeah, I'll do that. Okay.
And I'm sorry, I'm not quite as savvy as everybody on the sharing screens here.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, if you will, I'm gonna try to see. I don't know why I can't get out of it here.
Or you know what? You know what, Paul? If you go on to one other person, I will make sure I pull that up, and then I can go through it.
Okay, got it. Okay, what do you mean by that? Say that again.
Just go on to one other topic, and then come back to me, and I'll have that pulled up.
Okay, sure. I'll be glad to do that. Okay, unshare right now, though. Okay, so I can.
Okay, hold on.
Participants. Okay, here we go. All right. Hey, speaking of which, Jim, do you have anything to report for us, Jim Augustine from the International Association of Firefighters or Fire Chiefs?
They had a very successful meeting at Fire Rescue International, and the ongoing work now is preparing for the vaccine program. This afternoon, the CDC and ACIP are having a joint meeting. Paul, you might not be able to be on it, but it's our liaison meeting with the CDC about vaccination programs. And it looks like this fall we'll be moving vaccination both for COVID and flu forward. So that's the biggest issue.
Okay, got it. Anybody have any questions for Jim? If not, I will move on, and I'll go ahead and I'll keep stalling. One thing I did want to make an introduction, I think I did for you, Bethany. Lauren Karuba used to be in San Antonio and was medical reporter there. Is now moved on to be a medical reporter in Dallas, and that's where we got to meet. And she's actually been doing a really good job of tracking what's going on with blood in the field. And Bethany's from the American Red Cross. And Bethany, so Lauren will know, what's your interest in this? Why are you on the call with us about this?
So right now, I would say just general interest. I know that there has been just significant increase in products like low titer or whole blood for earlier transfusion. And I know there has also been significant interest in pre-hospital blood, be it whole blood or be it some of the dried blood products that are in development. There's dried plasma in development, there are dried platelets in development. And so really just trying to keep my finger on the pulse for interest in the pre-hospital, and then also trying to figure out where some of the hurdles are and where maybe I can plug in to help support getting over some of those hurdles related to, you know, reimbursement is one hurdle. I think another hurdle is just having the networks in place for access to the product. So that's my general interest. Nothing specific yet, but trying to stay really.
I know your general interest, but let's say, what about the Red Cross general? Is it for disasters? Is it for whatever, you know, help out with volunteers, get people to have donors for trauma in general? Or tell us a little bit about why some of your colleagues would be interested, okay?
Yeah, so this is a good question because I am Red Cross the researcher. And then of course there's Red Cross the biomedical services. And I do stay in tight connection with Red Cross biomedical services. But I don't think they're there yet. We don't currently have networks for providing blood products in the pre-hospital setting. And so I think this early interest from Red Cross, the researcher, kind of comes in to understand what people are wanting to do, what's possible, and then I can feed that information into Red Cross, the blood product distributor.
Yeah, so one of the reasons I'm bringing it up to Lauren, and maybe you can exchange information in the chat about how to communicate with you, is that, like we brought up the issue that the funding issue is going to end up being the biggest thing, which we were looking at. Can we go to CMS and say, hey, can we get reimbursed for this, you know, whatever. And so this is another angle. We need it for disasters, or we need it for multiple casualties, or whatever it might be. And so that's another angle where you guys can plug in and be synergistic there. Okay, so
I absolutely, I think that's a really good point. And I think there's some good data out there supporting improved mortality for earlier blood product transfusions closer to the time of point of trauma. And so there is a narrative that is starting out there in the earlier time to transfusion, but certainly can be built more.
Yep. Okay, got it. All right.
And I did put my email in the chat, so Lauren, I would love to follow up with you.
Yeah. Does that sound like another interesting angle then, Lauren?
Yeah, no, definitely, because I had reached out to Red Cross previously, but they had only sent me a statement, and I think it was just, you know, corporate PR kind of stuff. So I definitely would be. I saved your email, so I'll connect with you this week.
Okay.
Great.
All righty. Well, thanks a lot. All right. So then, Stein, how are we looking now? Are we ready for it?
I am this time. Let me share my screen.
Okay.
Great. All righty. So this is just a summary, and I'm just going to start from the beginning. We had 49 responses altogether, and it looks like about 33%, 16 out of the 49 carry blood right now. And as we move down here, we have the agencies that are listed, but I'm not going to go through those right at the moment unless you want me to. What kind of products do you use? It looks like the about almost 65 use the low titer O positive, and then 45% use the packed red blood cells. There really wasn't anything else that was listed there. Anybody who was using plasma didn't answer there, and answered on the next question, talking about exactly what type of products they use. I can pull that up in a minute if you would like. How many units everybody carries per vehicle? It looks like the majority, or about half, carry one, and then 36% carry two. And then
And what was the other? Just out of curiosity, that's all.
the other, let me go to,
Well, if you don't know it off the top of your head, that's fine. Just go on to the next question. I was just curious to know.
yeah, okay. All righty. What conditions they use it for? So it looks like the majority are trauma. 100% of everybody who uses blood uses it for trauma. Then 64% use it for OBGYN and GI bleeds. I was surprised but interested to see that 5 of them were saying they use it for dialysis shunts and catheter bleeding. And then Peter will be very happy that 7 of the agencies are using it for pediatrics. What percentage of the blood expires before use? And it looks like the majority was 0 to 10%. That was about 70, almost 75%.
And you have any idea what the other thing is?
You know what? I can look at that on the spreadsheet right after this.
Okay.
And show you. What are the sources of the products? So it looks like the majority are blood bank, 72, 73%, followed by hospital. And I believe the other was the specific private blood collection programs that people have. So here, do we have any specialty related volunteer donor programs like the Brothers in Arms in San Antonio? 3 people listed yes, and most listed no. Do you plan on using blood products in your EMS system in the future? This was everybody. I answered yes or no to carrying blood products. And it looks like in the near term, 3 people answered that. In the long term, just over 50% answered. 36% answered not at all.
And just for those viewing this, go back to that when we said the near future, you're already writing protocols, you're waiting for it, not happening yet, but it's in progress right now. And then in the long term meant like, as soon as you can get it done, or if you can get it funded or whatever, and sometime. But I was curious about this third one, which was then it turns out a third of the group didn't plan to use it. So then we'll see if there's any more, like if we write this paper up, I want to see if I can drill down a little bit why they're saying that, because it may be that they're seeing such political stuff, but that's going to come up next then. All right.
Right. And so I know that there were responses from California that just said that there's too many politics and red tape to even consider it.
Right.
So what obstacles, this was interesting because what obstacles are you currently facing? And this was answered by everybody. If they had blood products in the field or they don't have blood products in the field, not ones that they've already dealt with, but the current ones. And so the majority there, as you can see, were the issues with funding. And then there was, slow acceptance by, trauma services.
Yeah, trauma. And then the next one was OBGYN. And then the next one was hospital, right? Is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then politics was, just the politics of the competitive services, whatever, whether it's helicopters or other hospitals having hospital wars, right? So that's kind of what that is.
Right.
Hospital does not use your, that's interesting. So the majority of the people saying the hospital is using whole blood for the most part. That's what I get. Okay. And then issues with supply from, tell me what that was. Issues with supply from what, the blood bank or hospitals, or what was that? What were those two?
Let me.
because
Let
they're
me
ranked
see.
number 1
Yeah.
and 2, I think there.
Yeah, no problem. Let me just see what that was. I'll have to look that up in just a
Yeah,
second.
yeah, don't worry about it, but what they
I'm
were
sorry,
was,
I'm not really thirsty going back and forth on all of this.
Yeah. issues
So
with supply from hospital
there they
blood bank, yeah.
are. There they are, Paul. They're listed out there in full sentences. So issues with supply from hospital blood bank.
Yep. And then
So-
from the hospital, from the donor center, right? Okay, got it. And then, but the main thing is still issues with funding comes down to it all the way around. So, okay.
Yeah, that's definitely the biggest one right there. Okay, so
Let me
whether or
go-
not,
I'm sorry, can you go back to that? I can't, I'm
yeah,
sorry.
absolutely. Here you go.
I just wanted to see what the other 21% still issues with access to the station with cold storage. Is a vehicle, and then reluctance to duplication of services, like the helicopter here. So, and then other, whatever that is, it'd be interesting to see what other was. But that's 40 respondents, and then most of these are going to be the people that were using it or not using it, right? Either way. So, okay, go ahead.
Right. That was for all comers, using or not using. And here's
Yeah.
another one for all comers, using or not using. Are you aware of the EMS agencies in your community? And so 70% roughly said yes, they have agencies in their communities using it. And then they went on to list those. And I could pull up the spreadsheet for you. And
Yeah, I think that isn't anything to anything. Just we can put that together later for whatever
Okay.
we write up about this. But I just want to give the general idea. So it sounds like about a third of was it about a third of the services were using this in the first place? Is that what I remember from question 1? That's the most important takeaway.
that's right. That's right here. So we're about 33%.
Okay, got it. So that's actually pretty impressive then, if it's 33%, because I thought we were even near that yet. I thought it'd be more in the 10% range because of the different cities that we have heard about from time to time, such as New Orleans or San Antonio, amongst us, et cetera, our group. And but there are others that are using it, and sometimes they're county services, et cetera. And we're just looking at our little group here. Okay, so that's kind of hey, Lauren, any questions that you have?
Not for the time being. I think once I can kind of like sit with the responses or kind of take a closer look at the data, I might have more questions. But thank you so much for querying everybody about this. I think it's like one of the clearest pictures I'm going to get, I think, of how many people are using blood at pre-hospital.
I'll try to get together and maybe we can slip her I'll talk to you, I'll look it over and then I'll maybe slip you the spreadsheet and you can take it from there and do your own homework from the raw data. Okay, that kind of thing. So, all right, Jillian, you had a question?
Yeah, I'm assuming you guys saw the papers. There were a couple of really great papers that came out in the past couple of years looking at pre-hospital blood administration, and one found a benefit and one didn't. And there was all this discussion back and forth of why they found conflicting results. And it was about the time, and right in Denver, because they were able to get to the hospital, there really was no treatment benefit. So I'm wondering if some of the different responses you're seeing, if your transport time, I forget if the cutoff was, it was around 30 minutes. If it was less than 30 minutes, there was no benefit to giving blood products. But if you had a prolonged, you're putting them in a helicopter and you're flying somewhere, it's going to take a longer period of time, that there was definitely a survival benefit. Are you incorporating that with the surveying questions to see? I'm wondering if that is a kind of a confounding variable for this.
Yeah. So we've been drilling down on that, and we have had lots of presentations over the last little while. And part of it also is that there in every system out there, there's always going to be the person that's trapped or the person who is profoundly, we can give you anecdote after anecdote here of people who were in profound, they were moribund and received it and they got better. So there's just, I think there's a general, we're okay with it. The big issue is the funding problem that comes up, I think, under these circumstances. Meg Marino, you want to have any comments there from New Orleans, because you've been using blood product there, so and you're getting some good results. So is Jim Roach down in, but of course we know all the stuff out in San Antonio, but so is Jim Roach down in Broward County, and there's a lot of cases that we presented at the Eagles meeting this year where we had a couple survivors up on the stage, in fact, of people who are actually in cardiac arrest, or we call it circulatory arrest on those services. But Meg, do you want to? The issue is really what it comes down to. The issue is mostly funding. I think there's a will that people said if we could get this arranged, we'd like to do this, etc. Meg, how about that? Because you were one of the people that finally got to get that done, right? In New Orleans. Hope she's still there. Is Meg still there? Meg Marino? She was on earlier. Oops, I hope we didn't. Oh, I guess we may have lost her. So sorry about that. That's why I was going to get, I thought she'd have great commentary for you. Anyways, I'll get more information back to you because we're going to actually discuss that and write that up. We're writing up a paper based on, this is just a first, let's get it out there and just get a general idea of how common. It's actually, quite frankly, it's more common out there than I thought it was going to be. It would have been great to have David Miramontes on, but unfortunately he ended up having to give a class right now. So we're not going to be able to do that at this point in time. But I'll follow up on that more specifically for you, Jillian. It may be depend on the circumstances, but it's again, I think everybody is getting the general vibe is that it's a thing to do, but how are we going to get it done and make it, productive and how to make it effective, from a cost-effective situation. And there may be cities where you get to places faster, but it does, I think for every city, all of us can get there faster in many cases, but there are some others where, it may just, you got to do it right then and now, or they're not going to make it, that. But also we're trying to get the hospitals to get up there and do it. John, you had a real good talk about the issue with John Kramer. You've had a good talk with, with Lauren about this, and what do you think's happening on the national level as far as you could tell?
Yeah, thanks, Paul. I mean, I really enjoyed talking with Lauren. I think that there's a lot of interest. There's also a fair amount of skepticism right now. And I think that most of it is associated with, as you've alluded to, the funding issue and also the logistics.
Yes.
It's really an issue of, is it going to be enough of a bang for a buck, particularly with smaller systems?
Right.
The challenge, and Lauren and I talked about this, the challenge is areas that really need it, i.e. urban and frontier, are the ones that have the more limited resources to be able to try and implement it.
Right. And the other thing I was thinking about, and Mark, in your response to your thing, it kind of comes along the lines a little bit of like an AED for every fire truck, because the majority of our cases that we heard on the call earlier today, not the one that you guys are on, but majority of cases are non-shockable rhythms. Did they have bystander CPR? And putting them out in public places, having them here, the use is going to be very low. But when you do it, it's pretty magical. So I mean, that's part of what we're talking about here. So okay.
Yeah,
so,
Paul, it's interesting that you mentioned that, because I was thinking specifically when Keith was talking about the results that he's gotten.
Yes.
I mean, again, it's limited resources, and where do you get the money for the Elgard and all the other devices?
That's why Ken's doing the state of Florida. He's putting out grants for it. So because he wants to get those lives saved. So all right.
Exactly.
So, so it's complicated. And so but I think we're in the right direction on some of this. So all right. So all right. So then let's see. Anything else? So hey, Lauren, then we'll get back to you later. I just wanted to make sure you got to see that at least as a start to see where we are. Does that sound okay for you? Any other questions?
Yeah. And the only other thing that I thought Jillian's question was interesting, because there's also some really good work by Dr. Holcomb kind of looking at the peak of deaths with hemorrhage. And so even with the fastest transport times, the amount of time it takes to get people in and actually transfused in the hospital tends to be longer too. So I think that, there's a lot of healthy debate in the literature that I've read, but, there's, people fall on different sides of it, which is pretty interesting. So, with the skepticism.
But it's interesting because of the refill study, actually, the problem was they gave it too late, by the time they got to it. Right. And, but if you, it's complicated. It's not like one size fits all. You've got to understand it and tailor it accordingly. So, all right. So let's do this. I'm going to move off the subject, but get on to, let's see, I want to go out to Hawaii. And Libby, what's happening out there? You're the state health director out there. Is there anything new we need to know about? Since, are you getting hit with that tsunami that Pierre was talking about last week, about the tsunami of tourists?
Yeah, good morning, everybody. This past week, we're doing okay, I guess status quo. We're seeing our monkeypox cases go up a little bit, but we're still relatively low. We have about 25 that we've reported, 3 of them in travelers, so that gets attributed to the home states. But we're seeing constant infection coming in from visitors.
Right.
So that's need to adjust our vaccination strategy a little bit.
All right, so yeah, and so anyways, the other issue I wanted to hear about, you have the tourists coming in, right? Is it a large inflow, or is it gradually going up, or what's happening there?
No, it's gradual, but I think like several other states, we're kind of gearing up. There's, big events in October. And so, how best do we do that? We don't want to promote vaccine tourism because of such limited doses. And yet, we still need to be responsive to wherever there are outbreaks.
Yep. All right, so listen, thanks very much. And thanks for, what time is it there now?
6:30 now.
Okay, it's only 5:30 here for me, so at 5:30 p.m. So anyways, thanks again for getting up always to do this. I really appreciate it and all that. And how are things with you politically? Doing okay on that end? As far as you know, I bet you are, but you never know, right? So you doing okay?
Yeah, so far so good. I'm kind of excited. I'm almost done. The governor will term out, and so there'll be a new governor after the next election. So looking forward to getting some sleep for a while.
So we end up, one of the things I did want to follow up with, I didn't know if Sean was coming on or not, but I don't know if, can you talk about it or not, about the ambulance going on fire, and having to do with the oxygen supply or whatever it was, why the ambulance, lit on fire last week or week and a half ago, whenever it was. Anything new to report on that, or you can't talk about it?
I don't think they know yet. They're still investigating as to the cause. Everybody's assuming, it had to do with an oxygen tank, and it sure sounds like it, but I think they're still investigating, and I haven't heard any results yet. Thankfully, the paramedic, from what I hear, is doing a little bit better. That person was in the ICU and intubated, but they're doing better.
Okay, good to hear that then. All righty, so let's start moving around and talk to various people. Joe, anything happening in Memphis that we should know about, or across the state, since you're the state medical director? Joe Holly.
Good morning, everybody. Nothing really major in Memphis. We're seeing the state's got about 150 or so cases of monkeypox, but it's been very stable, as has our COVID stuff. Other than that, no major developments on our political shakeup at the state EMS board. It's working its way through processes, for lack of a better word.
Hey, remind us, or for those who didn't know about it, what that's about.
Multifactorial, mostly related to a trade association and a fire consortium, fire service consortium, related to the amount of representation on the board and the makeup of the personnel on the board.
Okay.
And so it's sort of sorting out, who are the right people and what are the right numbers.
Got it. Okay, that's good. Well, if we could help you in any way, let us know. So that's it. Let's jump out to Kevin in Sacramento. What's the latest out there, Kevin, that we should know about?
Hey, Paul, thank you. Well, I'm closer to Shasta than even Dewey. So, right. John, we're just a couple hours south of Shasta, and the biggest fires, of course, burned through weed. Oddly enough, one of them that burned through an entire community and leveled many homes was stopped by the fact it ran into a gigantic lake, which is an unusual phenomenon. But there was unfortunately another fire just to its west that burned up and around the lake. And so 2 different fires. The Rim Fire, of course, continues to devastate the southern parts of Oregon. As I talked earlier, we had an issue of violence with one of our firefighters recently. And then, as I've heard discussed, I've seen on the news, about multiple stabbings, multiple shootings. I sent you a link just a moment ago about something called IMCI. Twice a month, we intentionally drill with our law enforcement at a school that they were going to tear down, but the police department stepped in and bought it and now owns the land, and they've turned their auditorium into a nightclub. And they've turned their classrooms are still in classrooms. And twice a month we go out there and we drill side by side with them on navigating our way through an active shooter or a violent incident. And we can stage both nightclubs and school shootings as well. And that model, the piece I sent to you was from Channel 10 that shot after the K Street shooting that we had here, where we had multiple victims. And because of that training, our first victim was moved off the scene in 5 minutes, and our last one was moved off the scene in 21 minutes, while there was still active incident going on. So I'd love to share that with you if you want to in the future.
Okay, that sounds good. Remind me and we'll try to do that. And in the meantime, just help out with Carolina. That would be really great. So, okay.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, good. Well, thanks. And then how's your air quality doing there? Are you having any effect?
I'm sorry, John. We're sending it all north. Oddly enough, as Clayton said earlier, today it's slated to be 116 here in Sacramento. It's actually slated to be warmer here in Sacramento than it is in Las Vegas.
Huh. Wow.
So it's amazing.
All right. So anyways, good luck with that one, right? So we'll see how that turns out. All right. So then let's see. I just got a report, by the way, for, nothing really different from what she reported last week. Fiona had to go to another meeting here over in the UK, although you have a new prime minister now. But other than that, they were doing okay over here. Let me jump over to St. Paul. Bjorn, anything to report over there? And I'll be that. By the way, Joe Holly and I will be. We have to give you a warning coming to your jurisdiction in about 2-3 weeks, I guess now, right? So.
Yeah, let me know. No, we just finished the state fair, so a very successful year here in Minnesota, and we're gearing up now for the nurses strike. They did give their notice, so the plan is a 3-day strike starting on September 12th.
Yeah.
So we have contingencies in place this weekend as we anticipate a lot of transfers, interfacility transfers to offload. And then we're, philosophically, we're trying to decide what's our last item here. Do we just removed divert this year from our vocabulary here in the Twin Cities, but is there a point where we need to start load balancing a little bit if hospitals end up closing because of staffing and volume issues? So
this is not just emergency nurses. This is a generic across the board.
This is the Minnesota Nurses Association, the union. It's 15,000 nurses, Minnesota, Wisconsin, primarily. So it's clinics, it's hospitals primarily. There's a few non-union hospitals here. Fortunately, our trauma centers that'll stay open, but we also need to protect the trauma centers to some degree if it gets out of control. So we'll see.
Well, good luck with that. And then ain't nothing else to report then. Otherwise, things are good, right? And you'll warn the mayor and commissioners and fire department, police department that Joe and I will be coming there, right? So
we'll make appropriate public notice.
Okay, good. Hey, let's go across the state lines and go over to Ben. What's happening in Milwaukee? Ben, are you there? I know I'm catching you off.
Yeah, hey, sorry, I'm on my phone, so mute issues. Things are going well in Milwaukee. We're, from a COVID perspective, gearing up for boosters, and from an EMS perspective, lots of kind of long-term projects going on, but otherwise doing well.
Well, what are some of those long-term projects that you're working on?
So we're working on a consolidated EPCR. So we have 14 fire departments that they're all an image trend, but they all have different EPCRs that's been the case forever. So we're trying to get on one for much better interoperability and data acquisition. We have a number of departments that are going from BLS to ALS. So working on that transition with the state. And then we also have a lot of fragmentation in our dispatch centers. There's 11 different dispatch centers. So making some movement on some level of consolidation there too.
Hey, and one of the things, so since you're the main health advisor for the county, anything else new that's arising or what you're planning to do besides what we heard over in, when you said you're getting ready for vaccinations? And what about flu shots? Where are we on that? That's kind of.
Yeah. So we're working on flu shot campaign, doing it at the same time as boosters, at the same time as monkeypox for people who are getting that. And then just generally working on a flu shot campaign as well. It seems like people are, of course, more hesitant for vaccines in general than they were, 3 years ago. But otherwise, reckless driving, gun violence, opioid use are probably the three things that come top of mind.
All right, got it. Hey, one thing I was gonna say, so what's the public health position now? I should have asked Libby, I should have asked you. Can we get our vaccination for, if we're gonna get our variant booster, the multivalent or the bivalent, as John was calling it? Are we gonna get that? Can we get that with the flu at the same time? Can you get both shots at the same time, or would you recommend staggering them?
Yeah, no, you can get both at the same time. I mean, personally, I usually wait till October for flu shot just to get a little longer.
Yes.
Theoretic longer activity, but yes is the answer. Absolutely, you can get them at the same time.
Okay. Are you guys seeing anything else? I guess I should ask this to John, but he's probably gone already because he had to get off at 11:30. But are you seeing anything else like, I think there's a lot of adenovirus going around in some areas, I guess RSV. Is there an increase in those things that are showing up now because, people are getting more exposed and running around and walking out and seeing each other? There's less mask use nowadays. It was amazing at the airports today. I've been in airports in the last, 24 hours. And it just, nobody's wearing masks, that kind of thing. And at all, there's a few people that are, and there are people coughing, but I'm not sure it's all COVID. It could be some of this other stuff as well. So are you guys looking for it, or are you seeing more cases about other viruses as well?
Yeah, no, we definitely track it. I haven't seen much of an uptake yet. I think with school starting and weather starting to cool down, we certainly will. I'll be in an airport in a few hours, so I'll be wearing a mask, but I'll be one of the few, I think.
Yeah. Okay, good. All right, thank you so much for the report. Good to hear it. And let's go to Baltimore.
Yeah, thanks, Paul.
Okay, let's go to Baltimore. Ben, what do you got to report from there? Besides more violence, right?
I was going to say, Philadelphia fortunately set the stage for me. Well, that's great. So that continues to be an issue. We continue to work with our hospital partners as well on really trying to address the social determinants of health with nurse triage lines and telemedicine. So I think that becomes a big issue. We are also grappling a lot with this, the use of force. So I know that has been discussed previously on the Eagles calls. So we are working with Baltimore Police because of their consent decree, and we now have some ongoing meetings to discuss how we can collaborate a little bit more, I think, constructively, especially at the point of contact. So those will continue to happen, and hopefully we can have a nice unified front in dealing with some of these, unfortunately, violent or difficult encounters with patients. So I think that's about it from Baltimore.
Okay, thanks. Rob Lowe over in Columbus. What do you got over there?
Fairly status quo. This past weekend, obviously a big game and a lot of going on, but nothing that was statistic anomaly for the crowds we expected. Okay. We are in the process. I don't know if you guys saw some questions about an RFP. We're in our dispatch software, our medical dispatch software contract is up. And so if any of you have recently been through that and have an RFP you'd be willing to share, I'd certainly love to borrow some language to make sure we're doing the right thing. So
I bet you there's a bunch out there, right? Anybody know of anybody recently did their RFPs with their dispatch systems? I can't remember. It seems like there's one or two, but I can't remember who they were. So
We have a survey out there right now from Columbus, and Ben, I'll send you the results.
Okay, got it. That was Rob, by the way, just from Columbus. That's who it was. So Jim, you may not have caught that. I transitioned on you. All right, good. Angus, anything in Tampa Bay or anything in general from the state of Florida as the state medical director? Angus Jameson, if you're there, report in. Talk to me, Goose. All right, he may be off on doing something else, but hopefully he'll pipe in. Angus Jameson, in case you're not hearing me, I'll shout a little louder. If not, let's move on. All right, let's go down to the list here below here. Hey, Chuck, anything, Burnell, anything you can give us, or I'll go to Chuck Mason next.
No, we're holding ground here. Always staffing issues, hoping a storm doesn't hit. ready to do disaster response, but knock on wood, we haven't had any fires and water has been transient.
Okay, got it. Okay. Chuck Mason, how about Little Rock? Anything out there? Chuck, you there? I mean, you're muted now, I guess, at least your video is on. Unless he got distracted, he was off doing something else. Okay, got it. Chuck, is that you? Are you there? Okay. I think he may have popped, he actually just popped off. That's it. And most of us have to pop off here pretty soon. Let's see who else was I'm just trying to go through the list here. It's popping around. Paul Banerjee, anything in Polk County that we should know about? And when are you going to get your head up equipment?
Well, I talked to our procurement. Hopefully they're going to be getting on that sooner than later. They said we have a year to get this, so let's take our time. So we're trying to get that year shortened to like 3 months. We just get CAS accredited, which was great. We're having issues with getting supplies, medications. We have 0 etomidate right now. Being creative with our protocols for induction, sedation. That's basically what we're trying to adapt. We've got 4 different protocols the last 6 weeks.
Yeah. Okay, good. So let's see now. Let's see. Oh, before I guess, hey, Nick Miller, any of you guys have anything for us? We had a good report from you guys last week, but anything else? Well, we got John to talk about.
No, nothing good. We're just looking forward to seeing you all. We're now getting to crunch time with the last, I think, 5 weeks are out. So if you're having any issues logistically, now's the time when we start to see things like I have another scheduling conflict or other issues. Just let myself or Samantha know as soon as possible so we can help you out and make sure we take care of you. Otherwise, for those of you who are presenting, which is probably about half of this room, we thank you very much for your support. We're really looking forward to hear what you have to contribute and expand upon a lot of those topics you covered in Eagles in June.
Hey, Nick, if anybody, and the other thing is, I'll be glad to help you out in any way. Like someone falls out and they don't have you got an opening, I'll be glad, I could just give me 30 seconds and I'll put a talk together for you, that kind of thing. All right. So just keep my phone number on your speed dial. Jim, okay.
Just one more thing. I have 2 Eagles sessions, meet the directors. I think I put 4 or 5 names in. That doesn't mean you can bring whoever you want, whatever.
If any of you guys are there, just hop on stage with
hop on in.
Yeah, that's right.
I have 4 or 5 of you in the official capacity and the rest are unofficial. I guess
right. Exactly. Okay. Hey, Jim Augustine, you had a hand up, I think. Is that Jim or is that Mick? Mick, I'm sorry. Mick, go ahead. I couldn't see who it was.
So we had an interesting mass gathering challenge recently. We had supposedly a football game.
Yeah.
They only kicked the ball 4 times, so the crowd got a bit antsy. They don't understand where the football part comes in if they don't kick. Northwestern versus Nebraska. But the interesting.
Okay, got it. That's right. That was at Aviva Stadium, right? Is that right?
But the interesting challenge was IT went down for the majority of the game in the stadium vendors. So they had to make a fairly quick decision and decided it was free beer and free food for everybody in the house. They all got blitzed. And, you're talking about a huge portion of college kids who in the States can't legitimately drink, and then they're getting for free when they come to Ireland.
Oh, yeah. So again, was it Northwestern was playing who?
Nebraska.
Yeah, so these are college, this is US college, just football, right? US college football. And they decided to play their game there at one of the local stadiums here in Dublin area, and it was just so that's an interesting situation. So in other words, they couldn't charge anybody because the IT situation, so they just gave away the beer. Is that what happened?
That's it, yeah. And they made full use of that, I have to say.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. That's a new one for me. I got to write that up sometime, right? So.
It did lead to an excess of presentations for medical care.
Yeah, I'm sure. Okay, got it. So, all right. Yeah, so
next year we get Notre Dame and Navy.
Oh, is that right? Notre Dame and Navy, that's right. Hey, was Willie Wade working that one, by the way?
No.
Who was working that one?
Different group. No.
Different group. Okay, got it. Yeah, so because he was doing something else, I think, that day, because that's the day I called him. All right. Let's see if there's anybody I've left out. Terry, anything to report on Tucson before I hang up the phone here, so to speak? Oh, and I'll give Chuck Mason one more try. All right, Angus,
Paul?
Yeah, go ahead. Yes, Terry.
Temperatures in Tucson, the highs are 98 to 87 this week.
Yeah.
And there's nothing to report.
All right, got it. I found it fascinating when Josh came on and said that you guys are just used to flash floods all the time, and that you have during the monsoon system, you always have a water rescue at least once a day, something like that. That was profound. I never knew that. So that's interesting. And then so
there are active local ordinances that fine people for driving into washes and getting flash flood.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's really very.
We fine them.
Okay. But the fact, the volume and the what's the word is the not just the volume, but the just the volume of cases of the numbers each day is just that's a phenomenal number to me. But that's mostly during the monsoon season only, right? So okay. All right, I'm gonna try to give Angus one more try. Angus, anything there? Angus Jameson, are you there?
Oh, sorry, I was doing a consult with my critical care team. No,
Okay.
nothing specific, except we're looking forward to having everybody down here for EMS World Expo and an AEMSP. So
Okay.
come on down, the water's fine.
All right, good. All right, I think this is probably enough. I'm going to get on to other things here. And so I'm just really glad to see everybody. And I'm glad I was able to, the timing worked out great. I got in from the airport and got into my room and checked in, and good timing. So excellent. So, and it sounds like the quality is good too. So, which is really exciting and all that. I remember 3 years ago when I don't think I'd ever been on a Zoom call, by the way, that I can remember. And now it's just something I do almost every day with a lot of people. So, all right. And then, hey, Mick, I'll give you a call once I hear from Scott and know what's going on. Okay, so I'll do that. All right. So thanks a lot. I'm looking forward to seeing you. And then I'm supposed to get together with the the O'Reillys, I think, on Thursday sometime. Maybe I think I'm going to go down to headquarters, maybe around 10 or 11. And then they're going to, maybe take me around to the hospitals. I think that's what they're implying, but you and I may be able to do something else tomorrow if you're free and available. So, all right. So I just got to find out more data. I got to take my lead from Scott. That's mostly what I got to do. Okay. So, all
Hey,
right.
Paul, could I ask one more question? I'm sorry. Somebody mentioned that they have their medics participating in active assailant trainings on a routine basis. I missed who that was.
Yeah, well, there were two people, Rob Dunn, and also I think it was Kevin Mackey's doing it, I think, if I remember correctly. Kevin, were you one of the people that said you were doing it regularly or planning to?
Yeah, absolutely. As a matter of fact, if you're okay with it, Paul, send the Dropbox link to that video to Jim.
Yeah.
If you're okay with him distributing and people
Yeah.
can see what we do.
Yeah, I think distribution's easy as long as Jim's okay with. I don't like to dump stuff on him. That's the only thing, because he has
Right.
so much going on for us. That's all. But I think he'll have no problem with that one. All right. So
Thank you.
All right, and then Angus, the other person was Rob Dunn. He's really great. He's been doing this for a long time. The other person you should consider is up in Raleigh is Jose Camanas. Okay, he's done a lot of work in that area as well. And there's a few others, but those are the ones that have been, let's say, veterans at it. Okay, so how's that?
Okay, thanks.
All right, you're very welcome. So listen, everybody, thanks a lot. Welcome back, my friends, to the show that I ran next Tuesday, which would be September 13th, I believe. And we'll have some interesting stuff happening at that time, including, I think, a presentation from some trauma people that will be very cool to hear. So you'll see. All right, thanks a lot. We'll see you later then. Take care.